My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm a realtor in South Central Alaska, and my mission is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching you in real estate. The purpose of today's video is to give you a market update for what's going on in all the big real estate markets up here in Alaska, looking obviously specifically at Anchorage, the MatSu Valley, Fairbanks, and the Kenai Peninsula. So in this update, we'll be focusing just on the residential side, and we'll kind of wrap it up in a nice summary at the very end just to give you an idea for what's going on. But before we get started, do make sure you give this video a like. If you haven't done so already, do go ahead and subscribe so you can receive more information like this in the future. And without further ado, let's go and jump into the market update for what's going on across Alaska. The first market we're going to check out is Anchorage. And the first market here, what we're going to see is that this time last year, we had about 440 homes that were on the market. Right now, we have 290. So that is pretty sizable cut in inventory compared to the year before, and the year before was already a pretty big cut from the previous year. So that's number one. Inventory is obviously way down in Anchorage. Next, we want to look at the number of units that have actually sold in the market during that time frame. So what we see is that for the previous month, what we have is about 290 homes sold this time last year. Now it's just over 300. So we see even with the inventory being cut back so much, we're still seeing that the number of properties that have sold actually has increased. Finally, what we see on the residential side in Anchorage is that average sold price has increased by just over 7%, and that continues to be a pretty good rate for what we've seen year to date. This time last year, average sold price was about $397,000. Now it's about $425,000 approximately. So obviously pretty big numbers there. That is nearly a $30,000 increase. We'll talk more about that in the summary though. The next market we're going to check out is the MatSu Valley. Now in the MatSu Valley, what we see is that the number of homes that are on the market actually has maintained about what we've seen. You see in the chart that we see that the number of properties that have been on the market actually has been starting to level out with what it was in the previous year. For instance, last year we saw that the number of properties that were on the market was about 322. Now it's roughly about 312, so it's a little less, but compared to Anchorage and the other markets we'll be looking at, it's pretty minor. So I'm starting to see signs in the MatSu Valley is starting to adjust a little bit. The next thing we're seeing is that the number of properties that have actually sold went from about 174 to about 186 the next year. So we're seeing an uptick a little bit in the number of properties that have sold, not a whole lot though. So that's again favorable indication. Next, what we're seeing is the average sold price in the MatSu Valley has increased year to date by about 15.5. I think the exact number is 15.48 if I recall correctly. But either way, average sold price this time last year was about 301,000. Now it's about approximately 348,000 year to date. So that's definitely the healthiest uptick of any average sold price that we've seen in the MatSu Valley. We'll save that more for the summary though. Let's take a break here real quick. For those of you who've been watching for a while, you do know that I have a relocation guide that's available for folks that are looking at moving up here to Alaska. So if that's something that would interest you, please do make sure you reach out to me through the website or the Facebook link down below. I'd be more than happy to provide that for you free of charge. It just kind of gives you a good feel for what's going on in the area. If you register on the website, just make sure you put relocation guide in the description so I know what it is. And also, if you are the type of person who really wants to just take a look at the charts and graphs that I use as a part of this report, do make sure to follow my LinkedIn profile. Link for that is going to be down below. I publish an article once a week, and I do include these graphs in there as a part of the report. So make sure to go check that out if you want to geek out and just have fun looking at all those charts and going over the numbers and enjoy. Now let's go and finish today's market update. Now switching gears, let's go and take a look at what's going on up in Fairbanks. There we go. So in Fairbanks, we saw that this time last year, there were 66 properties that were on the market. Pretty small inventory to begin with. Well, this year, it's about 42. So we're seeing a pretty big cut in the inventory in Fairbanks. Not a whole lot to begin with though, to be fair. The next thing we need to look at is the number of properties that have actually sold in the market during that time frame. So really not a whole lot of difference here. There's only a two property difference between those two. I think it's 24 and 22, I believe. So not a huge difference either way though. It's only two. So that's That definitely does speak to just how much demand there is, that you have so small inventory, and yet it's just about the same for the number of properties that have actually sold though. Lastly, let's take a look at what's going on in the average sold price in Fairbanks. So this time last year is about 251,000. Now it's about 289,000. So pretty significant uptick. That's a 15.2% increase year over date for the average sold price. Kind of to be expected if we see such a shifting in what we see for the inventory and what's actually been sold. I'm sorry, this is the end of a very long day. I'm not tracking very well, but that's what we're seeing for the average sold price in Fairbanks. Switching gears one more time, let's take a look at the Kenai Peninsula. So looking at first off the inventory we had this time last year, it was 274. Now it's 201. Obviously, pretty sizable decrease in the inventory. Not surprisingly, kind of the trend we're seeing with the other properties or other markets as well. Again, sorry, long day, but we see that the number of properties that sold this time last year was 81 in November. Now it's 99. So pretty sizable uptick in the number of properties in proportion to the total number that we have though. Last but not least, the average sold price for Fairbanks went from 275,000 this time last year to date, and now it's sitting at roughly about 308,000, which is about a 12.2% increase. Now for the summary, what we're seeing across the board, residential side doing very well. Inventory remains pretty low across the board, and we are starting to see kind of some inventory creeping up and competing with the previous year, specifically in the MatSu. Everywhere else, it's going to be a pretty sizable decrease. Average sold price is anywhere from about 7 to about 15% average sold price increase. This is expected to continue for as long as the interest rates remain low, which is going to keep driving the demand, which makes the sellers who would be moving a little hesitant to do it just because there are not a lot of options. As soon as that happens, I suspect we are going to start seeing that inventory creeping back up. So if you are on the fence about selling your property, let's go and talk and see what we can do to help you. If you're looking at buying, let's go ahead and talk and see what we can do to help you find some options in this market, because there's definitely some great options out there. We just have to be creative. So I sure hope this is useful for you. Again, make sure you give this video a like. If you want to see these charts and see it all right now, do check out the LinkedIn article. Link for that is going to be down below. Just go to my profile. And without further ado, I think we're done, and see you next time.